update on Max's car. Today's Wednesday. We've got the drive shaft all done and ready to go in. It's nice and cleaned up. U-joint's tight. New center support bearing is in place. The old one wasn't terrible, but it was when we broke off this part and then just had the bearing on there, it is clicking and ticking. So certainly won't be any more of that. New CV joint is here at the end. A new hose clamp. We'll get the new gasket on the end, and it is packed with grease and new studs. So the drive shaft is all ready to go. That 18 is nice and tight. There's not a spot of rust on this thing. Super nice. We didn't need to replace in there. That thing looks fine. Then we got to work on the transmission. Really cleaned it up. It was filthy from the rear main seal leak, so it's all clean now. We got fresh mounts in the back. The selector shaft seal in there is new. This joint at the end is new. The pin we reused. We didn't buy a new pin to save a couple bucks. It's fine. Circlip is new. Mounts are new. Hardware is new. Cleaned up the brace. Slave cylinders out. Did the throwout bearing as part of the clutch kit. Cleaned up the fork. Greased the top of the throwout bearing, top and bottom, as well as the pivot point. Same pin, same pivot. Pulled off this flange to see if that seal, the input shaft seal, were leaking, and it appears to be dry, so that's good news. And then yesterday, of course, we were able to get the rear main seal, flywheel, clutch, and pressure plate in. Then I was also able to totally clean and rebuild the shifter carrier today. We found a UUC Motorsport Motorworks shifter in there. I don't know if that's a short shifter or not. I imagine it would. Why else would they replace it? Cleaned the whole carrier. Fresh stock bushings in the back. Fresh stock standard 5 Series bushing in the front to save like $100. It's the same as the M5 bushing, but way cheaper. And what else? And then of course a new cup in there with some white lithium grease. So that's ready to go back in when the transmission's in. We're gonna do the drive shaft flex disc, diff bushings, diff output seals, CV joint seal, fuel filter, exhaust hardware, trans drain and fill plugs, diff hardware, diff input seal, exhaust gaskets, diff drain and fill bolts. And then here's the old clutch, which we believe to be original at 140, 141. Certainly about cooked. Pressure plate. This is the old center support bearing. Wasn't trashed, but it was clicking. And the old CV joint, old trans mounts. So trans mounts actually aren't bad. Little deformation, but this is where it would break down here. It'll delaminate, just fall apart right there. This thing was shot. The rear main seal leak was so bad, just everything was covered in oil. And the flywheel is really toast. Thing's gotten hot before. And the old flex disc itself actually isn't horrible. This has been done before. Done for today. The transmission's installed and torqued to spec. That was fun. Actually a lot better than removing it. I told you I'd show you a stand, right? The one we got yesterday from Napa. It's this guy. Hydraulic, goes up to 73 inches, which is more than enough. Good for 1,000 pounds. Figure the transmission weighs about 120, and that's generous. That's probably more like 80 to 90. We got the shifter linkage in, all the new bushings, everything but the knob back on now. So that's cool, nice and tight. Slave cylinders back in. Tomorrow we're gonna do the heat shields up by the mufflers and just kind of finish up things, say here and forwards, get that part of the car done. Got some heat shields down there. Probably put the flex disc on the transmission output flange. And then we're pulling the diff. It's already mechanically detached. Don't have any more bolts to go, but we've got to get the axle flanges out of the way and then drop it down. It's Wednesday night and shop productivity is through the roof. We're up to a 12 right now. We don't work as quickly as a shop with infinitely more experience does, but we also do a much better job. I've had good shops do work on my car, and they don't spend 2 hours scrubbing the transmission with a half a gallon of a degreaser and brushes and gloves and turn it all with different ways and take the brackets off and clean them and soak them separately. Nobody does that. Does it make the car drive better? No, but it's a better product at the end. So that happened today. We got, I gave you some updates this afternoon up at the shop, so you have an idea of what's going on there. Tomorrow is going to be diff day, I think. We're going to drop the rear diff out of the car. Thank God we've got the transmission jack now. Last time we did it on a little scissor jack, which worked okay, but then we had to crawl under there and look up in the dark, and that sucked. So now we can do it 6 feet in the air. Get the diff out, then we have 2 jobs. We're replacing 3 seals on the differential, the 2 axle flange seals, and then the pinion seal, the input shaft seal. And then we also are doing the 3 mounts, the diff mounts, diff bushings in the rear subframe. So we're using stock Lem Porter parts, no unicorn egg. The unicorn egg was a seamless, smooth, push the old one out and the new one in at the same time. I don't think we're going to be able to do that with a factory mount, but we'll see tomorrow. It's been, well, a long time since I've used that tool. That was early November, late October, something last fall with the Tayeg Car Bravo Zulu 96310 that we sold in the spring. So, man, it's been crazy. You know, just yesterday, we didn't even have a tool to take the transmission off. We had to stop at Napa and buy a new transmission hoist and bring it back and unbox it and assemble it, set it up and learn how to use it. And now today we've already got the transmission back on. The bad thing about this is we've chosen the biggest heat wave of the last 2 years to do all of this in. It's been right around 100 degrees in Escondido for the past few days. Yes, the shop has air conditioning, but not in the shop space. And we don't want to just open the door and triple our electric bill. So it's been quite warm. We've been working with the door down, guzzling water, fans going, AC breaks every 2 hours or so, go outside for 15 minutes, cool off, drink some water. So that's what's happening. We've got a lot of the work done, the clutch, pressure plate, flywheel, that whole thing, shifter rebuild, shifter carry rebuild, drive shaft rebuild, all of that stuff is done. We're now moving forwards to the differential work, the rear end work, then we've got a fuel filter, that's peas and carrots. And then we've got front sway bar links, also peas and carrots. I haven't said that in a long time. So that's what's happening. We had pizza tonight and my brain's going a million miles an hour, so I'm gonna try to put it to bed here and we'll talk on Thursday. Good night.